So my upbringing, I was pretty much raised in a middle-class family in California, in LA. Started using probably around the age of 6 or 7, started drinking. We all grew up together in the neighborhood, started off tagging, and then eventually started getting involved with gangs. We got probably around 13 years old. At the age of 17, I was going back to court. I was about to get sentenced again, and the judge was trying to give me like 16 years, and my dad said, Your Honor, you've been giving my son multiple sentences in juvenile, facilities, and they're not working. He's like, if you can, give me an opportunity to move my son out of state, and we'll see what happens there. And the judge gave me 30 days for violation, and 30 days move out of the state of California. And when I was 17, shortly after we moved to Vegas, I was about 17, almost 18. I started working construction, and my boss introduced it to me. He says, hey, you ever tried meth before? And I was like, what is it? And he compared it to cocaine. I remember doing it, didn't feel any kind of high. And then the second time we did it, we mixed it with some coke, and it was over. My daughter was born when I was 20, 1995. The only way I knew how to raise income was by selling drugs. So her mom got arrested when she was less than 5 weeks old. Me and my friend were like taking turns, like doing shifts on who was gonna sell, and then we would take showers. And one person would watch my daughter while the other person sold drugs. I ended up leaving for a couple of days and left her with her aunt, and I get a phone call and they told me that my house got raided, my daughter was taken. And the reason why I gave her up for adoption, so first they told me, you're never gonna see your daughter again. I was sitting in the county jail when they told me that. And when I got out, I was like, okay, what's the point of living if I can't see my kid? And I went on a suicide mission. I was on meth for 29 days. I went from 185 pounds to 117. On the 29th day, I ended up in the emergency room. I'm self-admitted. So 2015, I reached out. I was like really big on social media, like airing out my problems with my life. And one of my friends reached out she had 10 years in the program, and she said, Victor, man, you've been in the program before. Why don't you just go to a meeting? And I pretty much tried to bargain with her, like, hey, if you go to a meeting, I'll go with you. And she's like, well, I'm out of town, so just go and I'll go with you tomorrow. So I walked back into a meeting. My niece was giving birth at the hospital, and I just decided, like I told my niece, I'm gonna go check out this meeting, and she was happy because she told me that if I was using drugs or any kind of narcotics were in my system, that she would never let me hold her kid. So I went to this meeting, and that was the start. That was back in March of 2015. I shortly after had a relapse with a couple drinks, which to me is like, you gotta start over. So I got a new clean date and I stuck with it. I've been doing what I have to do for my recovery ever since. For me, it was like looking deep inside myself and asking myself, why were you getting high for 20 years? And I got to like look at myself, and I hated myself, because I gave my daughter up for adoption. So I numbed the pain, and I always told myself a lie, like, oh man, you just love this lifestyle. So for me, it's all about, like, 12-step program is about change and growth, who you can become and how you can help others. And the crazy thing I learned in the 12-step program is there's a question, there's like, how does your higher power speak to you? And when the first time I went through that question, I left a question mark, and then when I was reading that step with my sponsor says, how did you get back in the program? And I told him who reintroduced me to the program. And he's like, that was your higher power talking to you. And my sponsor's an atheist, and he doesn't believe in God. He believes in a power greater than himself. And for me, I believe in a power greater than myself. I'm not gonna preach the Bible to people, but I just know that there's something out there greater that's doing something for me that I can't do for myself. My girlfriend is just somebody that I was in active addiction with, I used to use with, and the last time she was incarcerated, she reached out to me and she's like, hey, when I get out, I wanna hang out with you, I wanna try what you're doing. And I was just like, nope, not gonna happen, nope, I'm good. And when she got out, went to a meeting with me, and we've pretty much been in a relationship since a couple of days after she got out. It was just something that I never thought was gonna happen, and it turned out to be the best thing happened in my life. Central Washington Recovery Coalition is like my baby. To me, it's just a way to bring awareness to the community, you know, to help end the stigma, to bring, to let people know that recovery is nothing to be ashamed of. You know, that, you know, people are dying out there, you know, because of addictions, and there's a way to get out of there. There's people that struggle with mental health issues that, you know, they can't even speak on it because they're scared of being shamed by the public. So we're the group in the Valley that's bringing awareness to all that. I've lost a lot of friends due to, you know, the opioid addiction. You know, and it just last week, you know, somebody overdosed in Wenatchee. You know, and this is in this town, you don't see stuff like that. Like, you don't see it in the paper. Like, oh, this many people have overdosed in Wenatchee. You might see there's a drug raid going on, but like, I know two people that overdosed and one person that died in the last 10 days. Don't judge people. Don't look at somebody and think, oh, they're just a piece of garbage because they use drugs. Look at it like if it was your child, or if it was your mother or your grandkid, it can easily happen to anybody. So what I do for work, like, I literally drive around the city of Wenatchee, to some parts of East Wenatchee all day long. I usually start around 10 in the morning after I go to the office for an hour. I go out of the streets and I do homeless outreach. I look for anybody that's homeless, and try to interact with them and engage them in services. It can be anything from like handing them a pair of socks and some bottled water to try to get them into housing. It just depends on what the needs are for that person. And one thing that I've learned is, like, you know, working with the homeless people is that a lot of them are just looking for a hand up, not a handout. You know, so I just kept working with them, you know, and the cops were constantly reaching out to me like, Victor, can you help this guy? You know, and we finally got him housed. You know, it takes a while. It's sad that it takes that long, but it does. I mean, I went up to the state capitol and I've advocated up there, and I've met senators and legislators and shook hands with them and taken photos with them, and it's just like, wow. Like, before, it was like my pictures were all booking photos. So like, I was always told, like, stick with the winners. So I get people that want to be a part of my life because they see what I'm doing and they want to get what I got. You know, and I'm not talking about the material stuff. I'm talking about like the spiritual stuff. Like, I got a smile on my face. I used to smile. You know, I have good friends. I have people that I trust. You know, people trust me. You know, people have learned how to trust me again. You know, I've learned how to live in integrity. You know, and it's just awesome what can happen, you know, when you're doing the right thing.